The Chalke Gate was the main ceremonial entrance to the Great Palace of Constantinople in the Byzantine period. The name, which means the Bronze Gate, was given to it either because of the bronze portals or from the gilded bronze tiles used in its roof. The interior was lavishly decorated with marble and mosaics, and the exterior facade featured a number of statues. Most prominent was an icon of Christ which became a major iconodule symbol during the Byzantine iconoclasm, and a chapel dedicated to the Christ Chalkites was erected in the 10th century next to the gate. The gate itself seems to have been demolished in the 13th century, but the chapel survived until the early 19th century. History. The gate lay on the southeastern corner of the Augustaion, the main ceremonial plaza of the city, with the Hagia Sophia Cathedral on the northern side and the Baths of Xenxippos and the Hippodrome of Constantinople on the southern and western sides. The first structure in that location was erected by the architect Aetherius during the reign of Emperor Anastasius I to celebrate the victory in the Isaurian War. Like much of the city's center, this structure burned down in the Nika riots of 532, and was subsequently rebuilt by the Emperor Justinian I. This building was extensively described by the historian Procopius in his De Edifices. In the 7th and 8th centuries, the Chalke itself or its dependencies became a prison, until Emperor Basil I repaired it and converted it into a law court. Emperor Romanos I Lake Arpanos attached a small chapel dedicated to Christ Chalkites, which was later rebuilt on a grander scale by Emperor John I Zimiscus, who endowed it with relics and was himself buried there. This rebuilding was facilitated by the fact that his predecessor, Emperor Nicephorus II Phocas, had enclosed the palace precinct with a new wall of reduced girth, to which the chalk was no longer attached. The main gatehouse, denuded of its bronze gates by Emperor Isaac II Angelos during his first reign, is not mentioned by Byzantine chroniclers after California, 1200. The chapel, however, survived long after. It is mentioned as being largely intact by Russian pilgrims in the 14th century, and in Ottoman times. The ruins of the chapel were known as Arslanhana and functioned as a menagerie. The remains of the chapel are depicted in 18th century drawings, until finally demolished in 1804. Description. Several literary descriptions of the gate survive. Procopius is the earliest and most prominent source, but accounts of the statues decorating the gatehouse's facade also come from the later Parastasic Sintomoa Chronicae. Justinian's Chalke was a rectangular building, with 4 engaged piers supporting a central dome on pendentives, which in turn rested on 4 barrel arches in the typical Byzantine fashion. The piers to the south and north were somewhat lower than those to the east and west. The central structure was adjoined by 2 smaller chambers on either side to the south and north, each again featuring a vaulted roof. The relation of the Church of Christ Chalkites with the gate is unclear. Cyril Mango suggested that it was located to its left, but it has also been proposed that it was actually built atop the gatehouse itself. It is known that the chapel was placed atop an elevated platform, and 18th century depictions locate it some 100 meters southeast of the Hagia Sophia. The vestibule's interior decoration is also described by Procopius. The walls were decorated with slabs of multicolored marble, while the ceilings were covered with mosaics, which depicted Justinian and his Empress Theodora flanked by the Senate, as well as the victories of Belisarius in the Vandalic and Gothic wars and his triumphal return bearing spoils, defeated kings and kingdoms to his emperor. The external decoration is comparatively unknown, but the Parastasic Sintomoa record the existence of various statues, probably placed in niches above the central doorway. These included Emperor Maurus and his wife and children, a pair of statues of philosophers taken from Athens, stretching their arms towards one another, statues of Emperor Zeno and Empress Ariadne, as well as 4 gorgon heads from the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. At dots around the chalk with the sign of the cross above them. The same text also records that statues of Emperor Maximian and the entire house of Theodosius were located nearby, while the exact location of a statue of Empress Pulcheria in relation to the building is unclear. Cyril Mango, who studied the problem of the statuary recorded in the Parastasish, concluded that the references came from a text written in California. 600 in great part because the images of Emperor Maurice and his family are unlikely to have survived their overthrow and murder by Phocas in 602. Icon of Christ Chalkites. Above the main entrance of the chalk, there stood an icon of Christ, the so-called Christ Chalkites. The origins of the icon are obscure. Based on its mention in the Parastasish, it may have existed by California 600, but it cannot be stated with ever certainty. Its prominent display on the very entrance to the imperial palace made it one of the city's major religious symbols. Consequently, its removal, in 726 or 730, by Emperor Leo III the Isaurian, was both a major political statement and a spark for violent rioting in the city, and marked the beginning of the official prohibition of icons in the empire. The icon was restored a first time by Empress Irene in California, 787, until it was again removed by Leo V the Armenian and replaced by a simple cross. After the definitive restoration of the veneration of icons in 843, a mosaic icon by the famed iconodule monk and artist Lazaros replaced it. The exact appearance of the icon is unclear, although the early image has been interpreted as a bust of the Christ Pantocrator type. Late Byzantine references, such as coins by John III Vatatzes and the Desis mosaic in the Chora church, use the term for depictions of a standing Christ on a pedestal.